Well, good afternoon, Michiganders. Today is Tuesday, June 20th, 2023. Summer is here. And of course, this is Tuesday with Tom, Michigan's only weekly podcast where we answer your questions about estate planning and estate settlement in Michigan. I'm your host, Tom Doyle, estate planning attorney, lifelong Michigan resident, and ambassador for all things good in this great state of Michigan. Welcome to today's program. Well, a brief recap of the last episode. Actually, took a couple weeks off trying to enjoy some of the summer weather. But last episode was Don't Die because of confusion about your end-of-life wishes. So I invite you to listen to that show because I discussed some confusion that can sometimes be caused when you're in the hospital if your documents don't match up with what the records are at the hospital. And in that situation, it was a tragic outcome for the individual. So I encourage you, listen to last episode about Don't Die because of confusion about your end-of-life wishes. Today's show, 6 reasons to have a trust and not a will. But please remember that what I'm about to discuss during the program is, as always, for educational purposes only. It is not intended to be legal advice. You need to work with your attorney to determine what is appropriate for you and your estate plan. Six reasons to have a trust and not a will. What I'm actually going to do for today's show, I covered this topic way back in May of 2021. That was episode 231 or something in that range. And what I'm going to do today is replay that discussion from back in May of 2021 when I talked about 6 reasons to have a trust and not have a will. So please listen. Or you've attended seminars that Amanda and I have done. A number of these reasons I've talked about during episodes previously, or we oftentimes talk about them during seminars on estate planning. Start first. And these aren't necessarily in order of priority, but it's simply 6 reasons why you might consider choosing a trust over having a will. Number 1, 80% of us are likely going to become disabled at some point in our lives. Well, a will does not provide any disability planning because they only take effect on death. A living trust, however, is in effect while you are alive and is a component of disability planning because you will name a trustee who will manage the trust for you if you become disabled. So again, the trust is a disability planning tool where a will is not. Also, trust help to avoid guardianship proceedings because a will doesn't avoid a guardianship, but if all of your assets are being managed effectively by a trustee, there might not even ever need to be a guardian appointed as well. So again, disability planning. Number 2, wills, and I've talked about this repeatedly, wills are meaningless documents until you die and a probate estate is opened. What does that mean? That means wills do not avoid probate. On the other hand, a living trust comes into existence during your lifetime, owns assets during your lifetime, and thus is used frequently as a tool to avoid the expense of probate, the delay of probate, and protecting your privacy that is otherwise given up during that probate process. So, wills don't avoid probate, trusts avoid probate. Number 3, a will does not protect assets from nursing home costs. I've talked about previous episodes about the Medicaid look-back period and the importance of using an irrevocable Medicaid asset protection trust to protect assets from nursing home cost once they are in that trust for 5 years. Again, if Medicaid planning is important to you, preserving assets are important for you, then another reason to choose a trust over a will is to take advantage of that 5-year look-back rule. Number 4, a trust for children can protect their inheritance from your children's divorces and keep the inheritance in your bloodline. Again, I talked about that previous episode. I think it was about episode number 148, in that range anyhow, about using a trust to protect inheritance from your children's spouses. On the other hand, if you leave the inheritance outright to your child, such as under a will, they will likely leave the money to their spouse, who may remarry. They're leaving the inheritance earmarked for somebody else. And, in fact, because the assets will become part of their estate at the time of your death, they could well be, under certain circumstances, subject to division with their spouse in the event of a divorce. So again, number 4, a reason to have a will over a trust has to do with protecting the inheritance from your children's divorce. Number 5, trust can be used to avoid out-of-state probates. Now, I talked about just a moment ago, wills do not avoid probate. Trusts can be used to avoid probate. Well, if you die as a resident of Michigan, and you have real estate in Michigan, and you have real estate in another state, then you are going to have 2 probate proceedings, because real estate is probated in the state where the real estate is located. So in that case, let's say you have your vacation property in Colorado. Well, if you die in Michigan and all you have is a will, you're going to open a probate estate here, and it's going to control the Michigan real estate. And then you're going to have to open an ancillary probate in Colorado to handle the Colorado property. On the other hand, if you had a trust, you could transfer your Michigan property and your out-of-state property, in that case Colorado, to your trust, thus avoiding multiple probates when you die, saving your family time and money and complications. Number 6, trusts can protect assets from a spouse's remarriage after your death. A will does not. In fact, in Michigan, if I have a will and I attempt to disinherit my spouse under my will, my spouse can choose to ignore what I have said in my will and take what they have under the statute as their rightful share of my estate. On the other hand, a trust can be used to keep my estate from going to my spouse if that's what I choose to do. Maybe it's going to be used to take care of my spouse, but isn't going to be owned by my spouse, thus making sure that upon my spouse's death, whatever is left does go to the children, because if it goes to my spouse and my spouse gets remarried, or your spouse gets remarried, then in that case, that new spouse might well be inheriting what was your estate, which means it might well then not go to your children. So, reason number 6 is to keep the assets in your going to your children if that is a concern to you in your estate plan. So again, recap. Wills do not provide disability planning where trusts do. Wills do not avoid probate where trusts can. Wills do not protect assets from nursing home cost where an irrevocable trust can. Wills don't protect an inheritance from children's divorces where trusts can. Wills do not avoid out-of-state probate with real estate involved out of state where a trust can. Wills do not protect assets from a spouse's remarriage after your death where a trust can. Well, before we conclude today's show, just a reminder, though, that Amanda and I would be honored to have the opportunity to help you protect your loved ones by either putting together your estate plan, amending a current plan, or assisting you in settling a loved one's estate. For information on how to schedule an appointment, simply head on over to DoyleLawPC.com. There you'll find information on how you can schedule an in-person consultation at the new East Lansing office, or virtual consultations via Zoom or telephone wherever you happen to be in the state of Michigan. A reminder, too, that we do have the legal store at DoyleLawPC.com. If you're just looking to have one individual document prepared, maybe all you need is a new power of attorney for health care, head on over to the legal store and find out how you can order individual documents to be prepared and delivered to your email box. But now that is going to be it for today's show. As always, though, if you have a comment about the program, a topic that you'd like to have me discuss, or questions that you would like to have answered, please send me an email. That's at tom@tuesdaywithtom.com. Please follow us on Facebook and invite your family and friends to follow us at Tuesday with Tom, also at the office, Doyle Law PC. Remember, too, Tuesday with Tom is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, wherever it is that you listen to your favorite podcast. And you can always ask your smart speaker to play Tuesday with Tom. Thank you again for spending some of your time with us today. And as always, I hope you have an awesome day and an awesome week in Michigan. Stay safe. Tuesday with Tom has been brought to you by the estate planning attorneys at Doyle Law PC. To learn how we can help you with your estate plan or with settling a loved one's estate, please call us today at 517-323-7366. That's 517-323-7366.